Hi, it's Mo Bunnell, your host here at Real Relationships, Real Revenue. I'm the author of The Snowball System, and I and my teams have trained over 15,000 high-end experts all over the world on sound, effective, authentic business development techniques. I'm joined today by Josh Linkner. If you didn't catch the episode before, really good stuff. Do that. And in this episode, we really focus on how to get more deals done. In this episode, my favorite part was where Josh shares a very personal story about how he did something contrarian, something different to win one of the biggest deals of his entire life. So you gotta wait to listen for that. But we covered several different ideas on how we can get more yeses, how we can get more deals done. So before we get into it, know that if you want our latest advice on how you can build your book of business, deepen your relationships, and grow your career, head over to growbigplaybook.com. At growbigplaybook.com, you're going to get an instant download on the 8 beliefs you need to have in your mind to become great at growth, and you're going to get weekly insights from us on how you can take your skills to the next level. So go to growbigplaybook.com for that. All right, here we go. Josh Linkner on how we can get more deals done. Hey everybody, if you didn't catch the last episode where I and Josh Linkner dropped in his newest book and the newest concept, Big Little Breakthroughs, go back and listen to that because he describes it, and the story he tells about how he won one of the biggest deals of his life is super interesting. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to go back and listen to the prior episode. On this episode, we're going to get super practical. So one of the core things you've got to do as a business developer is to win more deals. So Josh, how can our professionals, people with one foot in delivering a big, heavy, complicated, expertise-driven service contract, and the same human being has another foot into retention and growth and business development activities, how can they use the concept in Big Little Breakthroughs to get more deals across the goal line?
Well, one of the things that in the book, just quick backdrop, I actually spent over 1,000 hours in research and interviews with incredible people all over the world. So I interviewed CEOs, billionaires, nonprofit leaders, musicians, artists, celebrities and such. And what I discovered is sort of a pattern in the way that everyday innovators think, whether you're an innovator that's winning a Grammy or whether you're a normal person like you and me. And so there are these patterns that I've uncovered, and they sort of translate to mindsets. So I uncovered 8 core mindsets of everyday innovators. And one of them I think is directly applicable to your question, which is a principle that I call don't forget the dinnerment. Don't forget the dinnerment. Here's what it means, Mo. Like, I'm sure you've been to a nice restaurant, and at the end of the meal, they say, oh, here's a little something for you, compliments of the chef. If you ordered it off the menu, that'd be nice and all, but because there was some surprise and delight there, it transformed your meal. And in terms of the overall cost or effort that they deployed, that was minimal, but it made such a huge difference in the way you perceive that experience. So back to your question, for a business development person who's trying to win more deals and grow their business, don't forget the dinnerment. The way I define a dinnerment is a 5% or less extra bit of effort, creativity, panache, something that's surprise and delight, an unexpected extra little creative flourish. And those extra little flourishes have a disproportionately large set of outcomes. In other words, a high leverage activity. So your 5% extra that you add might yield 100% extra result. And let's face it, business development is often a binary outcome. You either win a deal or you lose it. And so the notion is this: let's say you're pitching a piece of business. Before hitting send, say, what's one little extra something that I could add that was unexpected? It could be an extra product feature. It could be a faster time horizon. It could be a more efficient use of capital. It could be a better payment plan. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're giving them a dinnerment. So if you consistently just do this, deliver against expectations, obviously we got to do that. That's the ante to play. But then every touch point with a customer or prospect, don't forget the dinnerment. Plus it up with something a little extra. If you say you're going to deliver it on a Wednesday, come back in on Tuesday. You're a day early. If they're not expecting a little something else, add it. Even if it's maybe just the way you visually present your proposal could be different. But that little extra touch, that little dinnerment can drive a significant impact in terms of your overall results.
Yeah, I really like that. Let's keep going on this because I think this is interesting. Let's give examples. So What's cool is you've got such a broad background, not only running your own business but these other companies. Give us some examples. So you lightning round several of those in a second, but think about professionals like consultants, lawyers, accountants. Think about account execs at big healthcare companies where they're delivering on some big service contract. What are some of those little dinner mints? Maybe you and I can do a little innovation here. We both like innovation. What are some of the little dinner mints people can add? Why don't you add a bunch? I'll add some, and we'll just build on each other.
Yeah, so the cool thing is that we have a broad canvas here really to add dinner mints. So let's say you're an attorney. Instead of being an attorney that looks like every other attorney, and you're got your Windsor knot and your mahogany desk. What if your law firm was the one law firm that was a little different? You walk in, everyone's wearing a black turtleneck, and maybe you have art all over the walls, where you're constantly rotating art from different local artists, and maybe there's like a little music thing that's happening there, and maybe every time that someone walks in, they get a fortune cookie, and they open up the fortune cookie, and there's like a cool saying in it. And so these don't have to be additive. It's not you're necessarily only going to like try cases better or write better briefs as a lawyer, but maybe you're changing the experience. You're plussing it up with a little bit of creativity and artfulness. So again, these dinner mints can be really physical, or they can be very metaphorical, or anywhere in between. It's just that little extra touch that makes someone say, wow. Here's the thing, in the industries that you describe, they're to a degree commoditized. People in those industries kind of look, act, and sound almost identical. And to me, getting confused with a competitor is the worst insult in business. I'd rather get thrown out of someone's office than be confused. And so back to that dinner mint strategy, you say, what could I do such that there's no way my prospect could be confused? Maybe you deliver the proposal in the form of a rap song. Maybe you make a black and white cartoon drawing of a point that you're trying to make. It doesn't have to be cute like that, but whatever's appropriate for you, just don't forget the dinner mint.
Yeah, I love it. And I was thinking of some ideas too, since a lot of the professionals that we work with are largely expertise driven. In those examples I gave before, I was thinking, how can we dial up our expertise a little bit? Little examples I was popping to my mind as you were giving examples were, instead of giving a static analysis, make the numbers move. We're in a virtual world right now. We're taping this in the middle of the pandemic. So maybe instead of delivering a PDF with the analysis, maybe you create an Excel model where the client can pick some assumptions, make the numbers and charts and graphs move in front of them. Maybe we can have an executive join a meeting that we know their time is scarce, but they're joining for this because they're important. Maybe we have quarterly feedback sessions in a sense where we say, hey, here's what we've done so far, but here's what we'd like to do. We brought you some new ideas. Maybe we could parachute in an expert from Europe into North America that she has to stay up late her time to attend the call or the Zoom meeting, but she does that to add a little extra color because she's the worldwide best expert in this particular area. So I was trying to think in terms of expertise too. There's a lot of ways that we could just show we're doing that little extra for people. And I think you're right. I think those make all the difference in the world. So give us another thought. Let's transition. Let's do one other big idea, one other big little idea around getting deals across the goal line. What's your next best behind the don't forget the dinner mint?
Yeah, and by the way, those are all terrific ideas. And you're right; it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can be, someone asks for 9 pieces of research, and you deliver 15. Like that's a dinner mint too. So it doesn't have to be cutesy. And I thought all those ideas were spectacular. Yeah, another key philosophy I think in terms of winning more business using some of these principles. One of the principles I talk about in the book is open a test kitchen. And so the notion of experimentation, I think, is really provocative. So when we think about winning more business, we might think, okay, I've got an idea and I'm going to try that for the next forever on every prospect or client I have. And when you try to make global change like that, it's very scary and it's off-putting and such. I like this notion of test kitchens where you're doing lots of controlled little experiments. And so in a test kitchen environment, a good example, there's Shake Shack in Greenwich Village, the burger joint. Well, right underneath there's the innovation kitchen. They've got it all tricked out with cool ingredients, and they test stuff and they run upstairs and try it on real customers. If they get good feedback, they might expand the experiment. If the customers hate it, they discard it. So the idea here is, instead of thinking, how do I come up with an idea that will boost my sales performance by 30% forever? Just think in terms of experiments. What if every week you ran 5 mini experiments? And I mean mini, like one customer on a Tuesday afternoon in one conversation. But just try lots of little ideas and start to measure what's working. The ones that fall flat, you can quickly recover. You didn't burn down the building, it's a cheap prototype. But the ones that do also don't go crazy. Then just expand the size of the experiment a little bit more and expand it more from there. So by the time you make a global wide sweeping change, you have the data to back it up. It's funny, people think of artists and musicians and innovators as these big risk takers, but actually they tend to de-risk the process through lots of little teeny controlled experiments. Open a test kitchen is a really powerful way, I think, to drive business development to the next level. Try all kinds of little stuff all the time.
Oh, I love it. And again, I'm thinking business process with business development. How do I meet new people? How do I develop relationships? How do I create demand? How do I close deals and expand from there? So I'm just thinking like our clients, a lot of times the two areas where they have the hardest time are meeting the right new people and creating demand once they meet them, as opposed to being reactive, getting proactive and adding value in a way that creates demand for their services. So somebody could have a metaphorical test kitchen for those two areas, which is where most people have the most trouble, and just try new things. How do I do the webinar differently to try to convert to one-on-one conversations? How do I do the speech differently to try to generate that I not just added value, but actually converts to one-on-one conversations? How can I use the give to get method, one of our methods, which is like a 60-minute a gift of your experience to a client to help solving their problem, but doesn't solve the whole thing. It adds a ton of value, but creates demand for the next step. So you can have a test kitchen for those things and tweak little things and figure out how to do it better. So what are your closing thoughts on this particular episode? What's your best advice just on what people gave a couple of great examples? What's your best advice for somebody that wants to open that test kitchen, try new things, get outside their comfort zone, which is hard for people that are paid to be right all the time. And here we're asking them to try something new. So best advice on that, and then we'll close out this episode.
Yeah, it just becomes way scarier if you say, I got to come up with the idea this year, one idea that's going to change my whole business. That's really intimidating. What if instead you came up with, 3 ideas a week? So that's 150 ideas roughly. And these all don't have to be big. Like you can fully expect that many of them will not work out, but that's okay. The optimal failure rate of new ideas is not 0. It's closer to 20 or 30%, in fact. And so when you break it down into lots of little controlled prototypes, controlled bets, fixed money, fixed time, as small as you can get, it just makes it feel so much less risky, and so much more accessible to us all. And then the combination of lots of those little at bats ultimately will drive the results that we seek.
Josh, I love it. As a creative type myself, you just speak in my language. So everybody, you're going to want to dig into Josh's book more. Josh, where should they go to get Big Little Breakthroughs?
Yeah, thanks so much. So it's biglittlebreakthroughs.com. There's all kinds of fun resources and tips and worksheets. One thing that's kind of cool. So creativity, it turns out, is very much like your weight more than your height. Like I'm not going to wake up a foot taller tomorrow, but I can adjust my weight based on my behavior. Your creativity is the same. So there's an assessment on the site that people can like hop on the creativity scale. It'll tell them how they sit today, where the areas are for opportunity, and where they might be able to focus for some growth. So yeah, check it out, biglittlebreakthroughs.com.
I love it, Josh. Thanks a ton. Everybody, if you didn't listen or watch go back and watch the last episode where we really framed out the concept, and stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to do a a deep dive on how to deepen relationships using the concepts in Big Little Breakthroughs. Thank you, Josh.